Welcome, dear traveler, to a peaceful voyage through the world's most tranquil mysteries. As you settle into comfort, allow your breathing to slow and deepen, matching the gentle rhythm of waves lapping against distant shores. Tonight, we embark on a journey through 100 soothing mysteries of our oceans, each one a soft whisper inviting you deeper into relaxation and rest. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet, yet we have explored less than 5% of its depths. This vast, unexplored realm holds secrets that have remained hidden for millions of years, waiting patiently in the quiet darkness. As we explore these mysteries together, let each one carry you further into peaceful slumber, like descending through layers of calm, blue water into the serene depths below. Our journey will be slow and gentle, with no urgency or alarm. Each mystery is a stepping stone into deeper rest, a soft thought to contemplate as your mind releases the day's tensions. The ocean does not rush, and neither shall we. Let the mysteries wash over you like gentle currents, requiring nothing from you but peaceful attention. Close your eyes now if you haven't already. Feel yourself floating, weightless, supported by the invisible currents of rest. We begin our descent into the beautiful unknown. Mystery 1. The Mariana Trench's deepest secrets. Nearly 7 miles beneath the ocean's surface lies the Mariana Trench, the deepest point on Earth. If Mount Everest were placed inside this trench, its peak would still rest more than a mile below the water's surface. Down in this profound darkness, where the pressure is more than 1,000 times that at sea level, scientists have discovered thriving communities of life. Pale, ghostly fish with translucent skin drift through the blackness. Strange amphipods, some as large as dinner plates, scuttle across the sea floor. Yet we have only visited this realm a handful of times in all of human history. What else exists in that peaceful, crushing darkness? What ancient creatures have made their homes in the silence, untouched by sunlight for millions of years? Let this mystery settle over you like the gentle weight of deep water. Mystery 2. Bioluminescent wonders. In the midnight zone of the ocean, where sunlight never penetrates, an estimated 90% of creatures produce their own light. Imagine drifting through this realm, surrounded by twinkling blue-green lights, like stars scattered through liquid space. Jellyfish pulse with gentle glows. Fish carry lanterns beneath their eyes. Bacteria create clouds of luminescence that swirl in the currents. Scientists still do not fully understand how all these creatures generate their light, nor why such a vast percentage of deep-sea life has evolved this ability. Some theories suggest communication, others hunting or defense. But the true purpose of this underwater galaxy remains softly mysterious, glowing quietly in the depths as you drift deeper into rest. Mystery 3. The underwater rivers. Beneath the ocean's surface flow rivers and waterfalls invisible from above. These underwater rivers form when denser, saltier water sinks below lighter water, creating distinct channels that flow along the seafloor, just like rivers on land. The largest of these, discovered beneath the Black Sea, flows with currents strong enough to rank it as the 6th largest river on Earth, if it flowed on the surface. These hidden rivers carve canyons, create waterfalls, and support unique ecosystems, all in the quiet darkness far below where surface waves roll. Imagine this now: rivers flowing within the ocean, invisible boundaries between different layers of water, secret highways for deep-sea creatures. Let this image of hidden flow carry you gently forward. Mystery 4. Methane ice formations. On the ocean floor, particularly along the edges of continental shelves, exists a substance that seems to defy logic: burning ice. Methane hydrate forms when methane gas becomes trapped in frozen water crystals under high pressure and low temperatures. This ice burns when exposed to flame, releasing the trapped gas. Vast deposits of this strange substance lie beneath our oceans, containing more energy than all known fossil fuel reserves combined. Yet harvesting it remains dangerous and mysterious. Sometimes these deposits break free naturally, creating massive plumes of methane that rise through the water. Ancient releases may have caused dramatic climate changes. The ice burns coldly in the deep, a paradox resting on the seafloor, waiting silently as you sink deeper into sleep. Mystery 5. Ancient underwater forests. Off the coast of Alabama, 60 feet beneath the waves, stands a forest of ancient cypress trees. These trees, preserved in oxygen-free sediment for more than 60,000 years, were revealed when Hurricane Katrina shifted the seafloor. Divers who visit this submerged forest describe swimming between massive trunks, their bark still intact, their wood still solid. Marine life has colonized the trees, creating an eerie hybrid of ancient forest and modern reef. How many other forests lie hidden beneath our oceans? What other landscapes from ancient times rest, preserved in the quiet darkness, waiting to be discovered? Let yourself drift past these ancient sentinels, their branches swaying gently in the current, keeping watch over mysteries from long ago. Mystery 6. The Hidden Mountains. The ocean floor contains the longest mountain range on Earth, stretching more than 40,000 miles around the globe. The mid-ocean ridge winds through every ocean, formed by tectonic plates pulling apart and new seafloor constantly being created. Yet we have better maps of Mars than we do of this underwater mountain range. Most of it has never been seen by human eyes. Peaks taller than any mountain on land rise from the abyssal plains, valleys deeper than the Grand Canyon cut through the ridge, and volcanic activity constantly reshapes the landscape in slow geological time. These mountains grow in darkness and silence, adding new stone to the earth with no witness but the patient, drifting creatures of the deep. Rest your mind on these growing mountains, building imperceptibly, quietly, as slowly as your breath grows deeper and more peaceful. Mystery 7. Deep Sea. Gigantism. In the deepest parts of the ocean, something strange happens. Creatures grow to enormous sizes. Giant squid with eyes as large as dinner plates hunt in the darkness. Spider crabs with leg spans of 12 feet creep across the seafloor. Isopods grow to the size of house cats, their armored bodies moving slowly through the cold water. Scientists theorize this gigantism relates to the cold temperatures, high pressure, and scarcity of food, but the exact mechanisms remain mysterious. These gentle giants move through their world slowly, conserving energy, their large bodies adapted to the crushing pressure and eternal night. Imagine yourself shrinking, becoming small enough to watch a giant isopod crawl past, its many legs moving in hypnotic rhythm, each movement slow and purposeful in the thick cold water. Mystery 8. The Midnight Zone. Between 3,000 and 13,000 feet below the surface lies the Midnight Zone, where pressure is immense, temperature hovers just above freezing, and no trace of sunlight ever reaches. Yet this zone supports abundant life, most of it never seen by humans. Creatures here have evolved in ways that seem alien. Fish with enormous jaws and expandable stomachs that can swallow prey larger than themselves. Gelatinous animals with no bones or shells, their bodies mostly water. Organisms that can live for hundreds of years in the cold, moving slowly through the darkness. Scientists estimate we have identified perhaps 10% of the species living in this zone. The other 90% drift in mystery, living their lives in peaceful obscurity, unbothered by discovery, ancient and patient. Let yourself join them in that patient darkness. Mystery 9. Pressure-resistant life. The pressure in the deepest ocean trenches is strong enough to crush a human instantly, yet fish swim comfortably at these depths. How do they survive? Their bodies contain no air spaces that could collapse. Their cells contain special molecules that counteract the pressure. Their proteins fold in unique ways. But scientists still discover new mechanisms with each expedition. Some fish have been found with proteins that should not function under such pressure, yet somehow do. Others contain compounds that science cannot yet explain. These creatures live in conditions that would destroy surface dwellers in seconds, yet they glide peacefully through their high-pressure world, perfectly adapted to what would kill us, finding comfort in what we would find deadly. There is peace even in the crushing deep.
Mystery 10. The Whisper of Hydrothermal Vents.
In 1977, scientists exploring the Galapagos Rift made an astonishing discovery. Tall chimneys on the seafloor spewing superheated water, reaching temperatures of 700 degrees Fahrenheit. Around these vents where toxic chemicals pour into the freezing water, they found thriving ecosystems unlike anything on Earth. Giant tube worms, some reaching 8 feet long, sway in the current, feeding on bacteria that live on hydrogen sulfide. Blind shrimp cluster around the vents, somehow navigating by sensing the heat. These ecosystems derive their energy not from the sun, but from the Earth's interior, from chemistry rather than photosynthesis. Scientists believe similar vents might exist on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, suggesting that life might thrive in the dark oceans beneath their ice. Here on Earth, these vents hiss and whisper, creating oases in the desert of the deep sea. Islands of strange life in the endless dark. Mystery 11. The Songs of the Abyss. Recording devices lowered into the deepest parts of the ocean have captured sounds that scientists cannot explain. Strange bloops, metallic groans, and whistles echo through the deep. Some sounds have been identified. The largest ever recorded came from an iceberg scraping along the seafloor. Others remain mysterious. One sound, captured in 1997 and nicknamed Bloop, was loud enough to be heard on sensors more than 3,000 miles apart. It rose rapidly in frequency over 1 minute and was never heard again. Scientists believe it was an ice quake, but the sound's unique characteristics continue to puzzle researchers. What other sounds echo through the deep, too far down for our sensors, vibrating through water and stone, in patterns we will never hear? The ocean keeps its acoustic secrets, humming and groaning to itself in the patient dark. Mystery 12. Invisible plankton migrations. Every night, in a movement so vast it can be seen from space with the right equipment, trillions of tiny organisms rise from the ocean depths toward the surface. This daily vertical migration is the largest movement of animals on Earth, yet it happens mostly unnoticed. Zooplankton, small fish and squid, ascend hundreds or even thousands of feet to feed in the upper waters under cover of darkness, then descend again before sunrise to avoid predators. This migration transfers enormous amounts of carbon from the surface to the deep ocean, playing a crucial role in regulating Earth's climate. Yet scientists still debate exactly why the migration follows the patterns it does, what cues the animals follow, and how the migration has changed over time. Each night, this invisible river of life flows upward, then downward, a tide of living things rising and falling in eternal rhythm, breathing with the pulse of day and night.
Mystery 13. The Glow of the Vampire Squid.
Despite its frightening name, the vampire squid is a gentle creature, drifting through the midnight zone, feeding on marine snow. The constant rain of dead plankton and other organic matter that falls from the waters above. When threatened, this small cephalopod turns itself inside out, displaying bioluminescent photophores that cover its body, creating a glowing display meant to startle predators. It can also release a cloud of sticky bioluminescent mucus that glows for up to 10 minutes, creating a confusing light show while the squid escapes into darkness. Scientists have only recently begun to understand this creature's life cycle and behavior. It lives at depths where oxygen is scarce, moving slowly to conserve energy, its large eyes adapted to catch the faintest glimpses of bioluminescent light in the blackness. Imagine this delicate creature, no larger than a football, creating constellations of light in the dark water, a galaxy unto itself, floating peacefully in the cold. Mystery 14. The Immortal Jellyfish. Turritopsis dohrnii, a tiny jellyfish no bigger than a pinky fingernail, has discovered a remarkable trick. When injured, sick, or old, it can revert to its juvenile polyp stage and begin its life cycle again. Theoretically, this process could continue indefinitely, making the jellyfish biologically immortal. Scientists have observed this transformation in laboratory settings, watching adult jellyfish sink to the seafloor, reabsorb their tentacles, and transform back into polyps, from which new jellyfish eventually bud. Whether these jellyfish achieve immortality in the wild remains unknown. They might still be eaten by predators or killed by disease before completing their transformation. But the possibility exists that some jellyfish drifting in our oceans today are hundreds or even thousands of years old, having cycled through countless generations of themselves, holding cellular memories of centuries past, pulsing quietly through the water, ageless and serene. Mystery 15. The Brinacle, Finger of Death. In the polar seas under the ice, a phenomenon occurs that seems like something from a fantasy world. When sea ice forms, it expels its salt, creating ultra-cold, ultra-salty water that is denser than the water below. This brine sinks in a stream, and as it contacts the less salty water below, it freezes that water around it, forming a hollow tube of ice that grows downward like a stalactite. This brinacle, or brine icicle, can grow several feet in an hour. When it reaches the sea floor, it spreads out, and anything it touches freezes almost instantly. Starfish, urchins, and other slow-moving creatures are frozen in place, encased in ice on the bottom of the ocean. The brinacle grows in silence, an icy finger reaching down from above, beautiful and deadly, a sculpture of frozen physics growing in the dark water, beneath the polar ice, forming and melting and forming again with the seasons. Mystery 16. The Secrets of Shark Skin. Sharks have existed for more than 400 million years, far longer than trees have existed on land. Their skin, rather than being smooth, is covered in tiny tooth-like structures called dermal denticles. These create microscopic ridges that reduce drag and prevent bacteria and parasites from attaching. Scientists studying shark skin have used it as inspiration for more efficient swimsuits, ship hulls, and even hospital surfaces that resist bacteria, but mysteries remain. Some sharks have skin patterns that seem to serve no hydrodynamic purpose. Others have denticles that vary in shape across different parts of their body in ways we don't fully understand. The Greenland shark, which can live for over 400 years, has skin that seems resistant to typical aging processes. How does shark skin maintain its function across centuries? What other secrets hide in those microscopic structures? The sharks glide on, wearing armor evolved over eons, carrying their mysteries through cold, dark waters. Mystery 17. The Chambered Nautilus. The nautilus has barely changed in 500 million years, a living fossil drifting through tropical seas. Its spiral shell, divided into chambers, exemplifies a perfect mathematical pattern, the logarithmic spiral. As the nautilus grows, it adds larger chambers to its shell, sealing off the older, smaller ones behind it. These chambers are filled with gas and fluid, in precise ratios that allow the nautilus to control its buoyancy, rising and sinking through the water column without swimming. Scientists are still discovering details about how the nautilus regulates the gas mixture in its chambers, and how it navigates through the dark depths where it spends most of its life. This ancient creature, with its primitive eyes and simple nervous system, somehow navigates complex environments and has survived mass extinctions that wiped out countless other species.
It spirals slowly through the night water, a geometric perfection, a survivor from the ancient seas.
Mystery 18. The Mystery of the Megalodon.
The largest shark that ever lived, Carterocles megalodon, vanished from the oceans around 3 million years ago. This massive predator, reaching lengths of 60 feet or more, ruled the seas for 20 million years before going extinct. Scientists continue to debate why the megalodon disappeared. Climate change, the changing distribution of prey species, and competition from newly evolved predators all likely played roles. But the exact combination of factors remains unclear. Even the shark's appearance is partly mysterious, since shark skeletons are made of cartilage that rarely fossilizes. We have teeth and vertebrae, but reconstructing the entire animal requires educated guessing. Some people still hope that megalodons survive in the deepest unexplored parts of the ocean, though scientists consider this extremely unlikely. Still, the thought persists. Could something that large hide in the abyss? The answer whispers through the deep. Almost certainly not, but the ocean is vast, and we have seen so little of it. Mystery 19, the sleeper sharks. In the cold waters of the Arctic and North Atlantic lives the Greenland shark, a creature that moves through life in extreme slow motion. These sharks grow approximately 1 centimeter per year and don't reach sexual maturity until they are around 150 years old. The oldest known Greenland shark was estimated to be at least 272 years old, possibly as old as 512 years, making it the longest-lived vertebrate known to science. These sharks swim slowly through icy waters, hunting fish and scavenging from carcasses that sink to the sea floor. Nearly all Greenland sharks are blind, their eyes clouded by parasitic copepods that attach to their corneas. How do they hunt in darkness, blind, moving so slowly? What does time mean to a creature that might live half a millennium? They drift through the cold, patient and unhurried, living on a time scale we can barely comprehend. Ancient individuals swimming in seas that have changed dramatically during their long lives.
Mystery 20. The Coral Reef Paradox.
Coral reefs are often called the rainforests of the sea, supporting an astonishing diversity of life. Yet they thrive in what scientists call marine deserts, clear, nutrient-poor waters. This seems paradoxical. How can such abundance exist where nutrients are scarce? The answer lies in symbiosis and efficiency. Coral polyps host algae called zooxanthellae in their tissues, which photosynthesize and provide energy. The reef ecosystem recycles nutrients with remarkable efficiency, barely letting anything go to waste. Yet, mysteries remain. Scientists still don't fully understand how coral larvae choose where to settle, how reefs recover from damage, or exactly what triggers mass spawning events when entire reefs release their eggs and sperm on the same night. The reef exists as a collective organism, thousands of species working together in ways we are only beginning to understand, building structures visible from space, one tiny polyp at a time, patiently constructing over centuries and millennia. Mystery 21. The singing whales. Humpback whales sing complex songs that can last up to 20 minutes and be heard underwater for hundreds of miles. All the males in a population sing the same song, which evolves slowly over time, with new phrases added and old ones dropped. Scientists have studied these songs for decades, but still don't fully understand their purpose or how the changes spread through the population. Do the songs attract mates, establish territory, communicate information about feeding grounds? The complexity of the songs rivals bird songs, yet they occur in a completely different medium and social structure. Even more mysteriously, humpback whales in different oceans sing different songs, suggesting cultural transmission of information across generations. The whales sing in the deep blue, their voices carrying through water, composing and recomposing their music, poets of the ocean, singing for reasons we can only guess to. Mystery 22, the deep scattering layer. During World War II, sonar operators detected a mysterious layer in the ocean that seemed solid but moved up and down each day. Initially thought to be a new type of seafloor, it turned out to be something far more interesting. A vast layer of marine life, so dense it reflected sonar. This deep scattering layer, composed of countless small fish, squid, and other animals, rises toward the surface at night and descends during the day following the vertical migration pattern. But the layer itself has mysteries. Its composition varies by location in ways scientists don't fully understand. Sometimes it splits into multiple layers. Its thickness and density change with the seasons and with lunar cycles. The layer represents an enormous amount of biomass, yet we still don't know the exact species composition in most areas, nor do we fully understand how the migration affects the broader ocean ecosystem. It hangs in the water column like a living ceiling, rising and falling with the sun, a breathing, shifting boundary between upper and lower waters. Mystery 23, the octopus's intelligence. The octopus possesses an alien intelligence with neurons distributed throughout its 8 arms, allowing each arm to act semi-independently. An octopus can solve complex puzzles, use tools, and even display what appears to be play behavior. They can change color and texture in milliseconds, not just for camouflage, but seemingly for communication and expression of mood. Yet their intelligence is nothing like mammalian intelligence. They are solitary, short-lived, and have no opportunity to learn from parents. Each octopus must figure out the world anew. How did such sophisticated intelligence evolve in a creature that rarely lives more than a few years and never teaches its young? What does consciousness feel like when 2/3 of your neurons are in your arms? Scientists have only begun to explore these questions. The octopus jets through the water, carrying its distributed mind, experiencing the ocean in ways we cannot imagine, solving problems with tentacles that think for themselves. An intelligence evolved independently from our own, mysterious and profound. Mystery 24, the ocean's twilight zone. Between 600 and 3,000 feet below the surface lies the ocean's twilight zone, where faint traces of sunlight fade into darkness. This zone contains more fish than all the rest of the ocean combined, yet we know surprisingly little about it. The fish here are mostly small, with silvery sides that reflect the little available light, making them nearly invisible. They play a crucial role in the ocean's ecosystem and in regulating Earth's climate by transporting carbon to the deep ocean. Yet we have barely begun to study this zone comprehensively. New species are discovered with almost every expedition. The full scope of the food web, the migration patterns, the impact of climate change on this zone, all remain partly mysterious. It's too deep for easy access, too vast to survey completely, a realm of dim blue-gray light where countless creatures go about their lives unseen, a frontier as unexplored as the surface of Mars, hanging in the water just a few thousand feet below, where ships sail, close but hidden, quiet and teeming with secret life. Mystery 25, the legend of Atlantis. For more than 2,000 years, people have searched for Atlantis, the legendary island civilization described by Plato as an advanced society that sank beneath the waves in a single day and night of catastrophe. Plato presented Atlantis as a moral tale about the dangers of hubris, but many have taken the story literally, searching oceans around the world for evidence of the lost city. Dozens of locations have been proposed: the Mediterranean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean, even Antarctica. Some researchers believe Atlantis was inspired by the real destruction of the Minoan civilization on Santorini, when a massive volcanic eruption devastated the island around 1600 BCE. Others think it was pure fiction from the start. The ocean floor holds many sunken settlements, but none matching Plato's description. The mystery persists because the ocean is vast and we have explored so little of it. Somewhere deep below, people imagine ruins might wait in the darkness, columns and streets covered in silt, home now to fish and coral, a civilization sleeping in the silent deep. Mystery 26. The underwater city of Dwarka. Off the coast of Gujarat, India, underwater archaeologists have discovered the remains of an ancient city submerged in the Gulf of Kambhat. Stone structures, including walls, foundations, and what appear to be streets, lie beneath the waves. Some researchers believe this is the remains of Dwarka, a legendary city mentioned in Hindu texts as the home of Lord Krishna. Carbon dating of artifacts recovered from the site has yielded controversial results, with some samples suggesting the structures could be nearly 10,000 years old, far older than the earliest known civilizations. Mainstream archaeologists remain skeptical, noting that underwater sites are notoriously difficult to interpret and that natural geological formations can sometimes resemble human-made structures. The site continues to be investigated, with each expedition raising more questions. Was this truly an ancient city? How long ago did it sink? What caused it to be submerged? The ruins rest in the murky water, their stones holding secrets that may or may not be from human hands, waiting for clearer answers. Mystery 27. The Yonaguni Monument. Near the Japanese island of Yonaguni lies an underwater rock formation that has sparked decades of debate. The formation features what appear to be terraces, steps, pillars, and right angles that some researchers argue could only be artificial. Discovered in 1987 by a local diver, the Yonaguni Monument has been studied extensively, with some archaeologists claiming it as evidence of a lost civilization, perhaps submerged when sea levels rose after the last ice age. Others insist it is entirely natural, formed by regular jointing patterns in the sandstone and shaped by erosion and tectonic activity. The formation lies at depths ranging from 15 to 100 feet, making it accessible to divers but challenging to study comprehensively. Both sides present compelling arguments. If natural, it represents a remarkable coincidence of geological processes. If artificial, it would rewrite the history of civilization in the Pacific. The monument sits quietly underwater, its angles sharp, and its terraces level, whether shaped by human hands or by the patient work of water and time. Mystery 28. The Baltic Sea. Anomaly. In 2011, a Swedish salvage team using sonar discovered a circular formation on the floor of the Baltic Sea that immediately captured public imagination. The formation, roughly 200 feet in diameter, showed features that looked oddly mechanical in the sonar images: straight lines, right angles, and what appeared to be a staircase. Wild speculation erupted. Was it an ancient temple? A crashed UFO? When divers eventually reached the site, they found a natural rock formation, but one with unusually geometric features. Skeptical scientists attribute the formation to glacial deposits and natural erosion, while others note that the Baltic Sea area has been submerged and exposed multiple times as ice ages came and went, potentially hiding evidence of ancient human activity. The formation has been sampled and studied, but access is difficult and expensive, limiting thorough investigation. It rests in the cold, dark water, its origin still debated, a shape that seems too regular to be random, yet shows no definitive proof of artificial construction, an ambiguity preserved in the darkness. Mystery 29. The Sunken Forests of the North Sea. Beneath the North Sea lies Doggerland, an area of land that connected Britain to continental Europe until rising sea levels submerged it around 8,000 years ago. This lost landscape was once a rich environment of rivers, lakes, and forests where Stone Age people hunted and gathered. Fishing boats occasionally drag up ancient artifacts from Doggerland: tools, weapons, even the bones of mammoths and aurochs.
Detailed sonar mapping has revealed the contours of ancient river valleys and the locations of long-drowned hills. Scientists piece together what life was like in this lost world, but vast areas remain unexplored. How many archaeological sites lie beneath the sea floor? What evidence of human culture has been preserved in the sediment? The forests stand in memory below the waves, their trees long since rotted away, their shapes preserved only in the subtle variations of the seafloor, a landscape that once knew human footsteps and voices, now silent beneath the cold sea, visited only by cod and crabs. Mystery 30, the pyramid structures of the Azores. Near the Azores Islands in the Atlantic Ocean, amateur researchers have claimed to discover underwater pyramid structures using sonar and bathymetric data. These formations, if real, would stand taller than any pyramids on land. However, most scientists who have examined the evidence remain deeply skeptical, noting that the data is ambiguous and that underwater mountains and seamounts can create shapes that appear geometric in low-resolution imagery. No archaeological expeditions have confirmed the existence of artificial structures, and the area's volcanic geology provides a ready explanation for unusual formations. Yet the claims persist, fed by the allure of discovering evidence of unknown ancient civilizations and the documented fact that much of the Atlantic seafloor remains poorly mapped. The supposed pyramids rest in the realm of speculation and wishful thinking, probably nothing more than seamounts misinterpreted, but they remind us how much of the ocean remains unexplored, how easy it is to see patterns in ambiguous data, and how powerfully the ocean holds our imaginations. Mystery 31, the ruins of Pavlopetri. Off the coast of southern Greece lies Pavlopetri, the oldest submerged city ever discovered, dating back more than 5,000 years. Unlike many underwater sites whose origins are disputed, Pavlopetri is unquestionably artificial. Streets, buildings, courtyards, and tombs clearly laid out in a planned settlement. The city was submerged by earthquakes and rising sea levels, preserving a snapshot of Bronze Age life. Archaeologists have mapped the site extensively, but excavation is challenging in the underwater environment, and much of the city remains buried under sand and sediment. What caused the city to be abandoned? How many people live there? What daily life looked like? These questions can only be partially answered. The city rests in shallow water, its stone walls worn by currents, fish swimming through ancient doorways, seaweed growing where people once walked. It is a ghost town beneath the waves, its silence broken only by the sound of water moving through empty rooms, a civilization preserved in the place where it fell, waiting patiently for careful archaeologists to reveal its stories. Mystery 32, the submerged Sphinx. Some alternative historians claim that the Great Sphinx of Giza shows evidence of water erosion, suggesting it is far older than traditionally dated, and that it once stood by a coastal area or was partially submerged. Mainstream Egyptologists strongly dispute this interpretation, attributing the weathering patterns to wind, sand, and occasional rainfall over millennia. However, the debate has sparked interest in whether other ancient structures might lie submerged off the coast of Egypt. The Mediterranean has risen significantly since ancient times, and some researchers speculate that ruins from very early civilizations could lie beneath the waves. Several underwater archaeological sites have been found off the Egyptian coast, including parts of ancient Alexandria, but nothing that would support the more dramatic claims about pre-dynastic civilizations. The sea keeps its secrets, and while dramatic discoveries are unlikely, the waters off Egypt have not been comprehensively surveyed. Beneath the waves, history and mythology mix in the silt and sand, and it is sometimes difficult to separate the two, as both speak to our desire to connect with the distant past. Mystery 33, the lost city of Heraklion. For more than 1,000 years, the city of Heraklion existed only in ancient texts.
Built at the mouth of the Nile, it was Egypt's main port in the time of the pharaohs, a bustling center of trade mentioned by Herodotus and other historians. Then, around the 8th century CE, it vanished from record. People assumed the texts were exaggerated or that the city had never existed at all. In 2000, underwater archaeologist Franck Godiot discovered the ruins of Heracleion in Abukir Bay, near Alexandria, buried under sand and silt in about 30 feet of water. The discovery was astonishing. Colossal statues, perfectly preserved temples, ships still loaded with cargo, thousands of artifacts frozen in time. The city had been swallowed by the sea, likely due to liquefaction of the sandy sediment it was built on, combined with rising sea levels. The ruins are remarkably well preserved, offering an extraordinary window into ancient Egyptian life. Teams continue to explore the site, but the work is slow, and much remains buried. The city sleeps beneath the Mediterranean, its temples now home to fish, its streets covered in millennia of sediment, a metropolis preserved in water and darkness. Mystery 34, the Bimini Road. Off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas lies an unusual underwater formation, a path of rectangular limestone blocks stretching for roughly half a mile along the sea floor. Discovered in 1968, the Bimini Road immediately sparked speculation. Some claimed it as evidence of Atlantis or another lost civilization, noting that the blocks appear too regularly shaped and aligned to be natural. Geologists, however, have studied the formation extensively and concluded that it is almost certainly natural, a layer of beach rock, formed when calcium carbonate cement binds beach sediment together. When this rock fractures along natural joint lines, it can create remarkably regular, rectangular blocks. The formation lies at a depth suggesting it was above water around 10 to 15,000 years ago, during the last ice age, but no artifacts have been found that would confirm human construction. The road lies quietly in the clear Caribbean water, its stones worn smooth, a natural sculpture that happens to look like the work of human hands, a reminder that nature can create patterns that seem intentional, that geology can mimic archaeology, and that our eyes are eager to find meaning in design. Mystery 35. The underwater caves of the Yucatan. Beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico lies one of the longest underwater cave systems in the world, a labyrinth of flooded passages, cenotes, and chambers stretching for hundreds of miles. These caves contain evidence of human habitation dating back more than 10,000 years, from when the caves were dry and sea levels were lower. Divers have discovered ancient human skeletons, including the famous Naya skeleton, one of the oldest and most complete sets of human remains in the Americas. The caves also contain extinct animal bones, ancient pottery, and evidence of Mayan rituals. Exploring these caves is extremely dangerous, requiring specialized training, and much of the system remains unmapped. The water is crystal clear, but the passages are narrow, dark, and disorienting. Each dive might reveal new chambers, new artifacts, new mysteries. What other evidence lies deeper in the system? How far did the ancient people venture into these caves? The passages wind through the limestone filled with fresh water that flows eventually to the sea, a hidden world beneath the jungle, where past and present meet in eternal darkness. Mystery 36, the megaliths of the Mediterranean. Scattered across the floor of the Mediterranean lie massive stones, some weighing several tons, arranged in patterns that suggest human placement. Most are explained as ballast stones, dropped from ancient ships, or as stones that fell from coastal quarries now submerged by rising seas. But some formations are more puzzling. Off the coast of Sicily, divers have found what appears to be a worked stone monolith, nearly 40 feet long, with holes drilled through it in patterns that suggest it was shaped by human hands. The stone rests in water more than 100 feet deep, in an area that would have been dry land around 10,000 years ago. If the stone was placed by humans, it would represent evidence of sophisticated stoneworking at a time when such skills were supposedly rare. Skeptics note that geological processes can create surprisingly regular features, and that more evidence would be needed to confirm human involvement. The stone lies in the depths, its purpose unknown, drilled by hands long turned to dust, or perhaps shaped only by water and time, a mystery we may never fully solve, resting in the quiet Mediterranean darkness. Mystery 37. The Bloop. In 1997, hydrophones operated by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration detected an ultra-low frequency underwater sound unlike anything heard before. The sound, nicknamed the bloop, was detected by sensors more than 3,000 miles apart, suggesting an extremely powerful source. The sound lasted for about 1 minute and rose in frequency as it went, characteristics suggesting a living source rather than geological activity. For years, people speculated, was it a gigantic unknown creature, a surviving population of massive marine animals? The mystery captured public imagination. In 2005, scientists concluded the sound was most likely produced by an ice quake, a large iceberg cracking or scraping along the sea floor. This explanation fits the evidence, though some find it less exciting than the alternatives. The ocean continues to produce unexplained sounds, though improved monitoring and analysis have explained many of them. Still, the vastness of the deep suggests that some sounds we detect might come from sources we haven't identified yet, creatures, or processes we don't know about, making noise in the hidden depths, their voices carrying through water for thousands of miles, speaking a language we don't understand. Mystery 38. The 52 Hertz Whale. Since 1989, hydrophones have tracked a whale that sings at a frequency of 52 hertz, much higher than the typical 15 to 25 hertz of blue and fin whales. This unique whale has been tracked migrating along similar routes to other whales, but its unusual call has led to it being called the loneliest whale in the world. Scientists debate whether other whales can hear its calls, whether it's a hybrid between two species, or whether it simply has a unique vocalization. Despite decades of tracking its song, the whale has never been visually identified. The calls continue year after year, moving through the North Pacific, a solitary voice singing at a frequency no other whale uses, perhaps heard, perhaps ignored, perhaps understood by other whales in ways we don't recognize. The whale swims on, singing its unique song alone or perhaps less alone than we imagine. Its voice a regular presence in underwater recordings, a mystery with a heartbeat, calling out in the deep blue emptiness of the Pacific, year after year, unchanged and unchanging. Mystery 39. Underwater volcanoes. More than 75% of Earth's volcanic activity happens underwater, yet we have observed only a tiny fraction of these eruptions. Submarine volcanoes create new seafloor, build underwater mountains that sometimes break the surface to form new islands, and support unique ecosystems around their hydrothermal vents. But detecting and studying these eruptions is extremely difficult. Sometimes the first sign of an eruption is unusual earthquake activity, or a sudden release of gas and pumice that floats to the surface. Entire islands have appeared seemingly overnight. In 2012, a massive underwater eruption near New Zealand created a raft of floating pumice the size of Israel. The ocean floor is constantly being reshaped by volcanic activity we never see, lava flowing in the darkness, creating new rock, building mountains in slow motion. These hidden eruptions play a crucial role in Earth's geology and chemistry, adding minerals to the ocean, creating new habitats, occasionally triggering tsunamis. They rumble in the deep, fountains of molten rock erupting in slow motion where the pressure is immense, cooling rapidly in the icy water, building layer upon layer of new Earth, patient and powerful. Mystery 40. Rogue waves. For centuries, sailors told stories of monstrous waves that appeared suddenly from calm seas, walls of water tall enough to sink ships. Scientists dismissed these tales as exaggerations until 1995, when a wave measuring 84 feet high was recorded by instruments on an oil platform in the North Sea. This Dropner wave confirmed that rogue waves, also called freak waves, are real. These waves can be more than twice the height of surrounding waves and appear without warning. They have sunk large ships and oil platforms. Scientists are still working to fully understand how they form. Some result from waves combining constructively, others from currents opposing wave direction, concentrating wave energy. They can occur in any ocean at any time, though certain areas seem more prone to them. The ocean occasionally gathers its energy into these monstrous peaks, mountains of moving water that exist for only moments before dispersing back into the rolling surface, powerful and deadly, rising from nowhere and vanishing just as quickly, the ocean's sudden fist. Mystery 41. Bioluminescent bays. In a few special locations around the world, entire bays glow blue at night when the water is disturbed. The most famous examples are Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, Bioluminescent Bay in Jamaica, and several locations in Vietnam and Thailand. The glow comes from dinoflagellates, single-celled organisms that emit light when agitated, a defense mechanism meant to startle predators. For a bay to glow brightly enough to be spectacular, conditions must be perfect. The right species of dinoflagellate, the right nutrients, the right temperature, and minimal tidal flushing to allow the organisms to concentrate. These conditions are rare and fragile. Swimming in a bioluminescent bay is otherworldly. Every movement creates trails and swirls of blue light, as if you're swimming through liquid stars. Scientists still don't fully understand all the factors that create and maintain these magical bays, nor why they sometimes suddenly diminish. The bays glow on, their waters holding tiny lights by the billions, turning the ocean into a mirror of the night sky. A place where water and stars blur together, where movement creates constellations. Mystery 42, the underwater canyons. The ocean floor is carved by massive canyons, some rivaling the Grand Canyon in size and depth. The Monterey Canyon off the coast of California is deeper than the Grand Canyon and channels sediment from the continental shelf down into the deep ocean. These canyons serve as highways for nutrients, sediment, and sometimes marine life moving between shallow and deep waters. They create unique habitats with their own microclimates and ecosystems. But how they form remains partly mysterious. Some were carved when sea levels were lower and rivers flowed across what is now sea floor. Others seem to have formed purely through underwater processes, turbidity currents, underwater avalanches of sediment that carve channels as they flow downslope. Studying these canyons is difficult because they're often deep and subject to strong currents. What lives in these canyons? How do they affect ocean circulation? The canyons cut through the seafloor in the darkness, their walls falling away into deeper darkness, channels and tributaries branching like the veins in a leaf, guiding the slow flow of cold water and drifting sediment, shaping the hidden landscape. Mystery 43. The hum of the ocean. Sensitive instruments detect a constant, low-frequency hum emanating from the ocean, a sound so deep it's below the range of human hearing. This hum is generated by the interaction of ocean waves with the seafloor in shallow areas. Waves cause pressure variations that make the seafloor vibrate, generating seismic waves that travel through the earth. The hum is constant but varies in intensity with wave activity. It was first detected in the 1990s, and scientists are still discovering details about how it forms and how it varies around the world. The ocean is constantly singing this deep song, a baseline vibration that resonates through the Earth's crust, a steady tone beneath all the other sounds of the sea. It's a reminder that the ocean is not silent but is constantly in motion, constantly creating vibrations.
and pressure waves constantly humming its low note into the bones of the planet, an ambient sound that has probably existed as long as there have been oceans and waves. Mystery 44, the Deep Sound Channel. At a depth of about 3,000 feet in most oceans exists the SOFAR channel, or Sound Fixing and Ranging Channel, a layer where sound waves travel with minimal loss of energy. In this channel, sound can travel for thousands of miles. Whales use this channel to communicate across ocean basins. During the Cold War, the military installed hydrophones in the SOFAR channel to detect submarines. These hydrophones have also been used to track whale populations and to detect underwater earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Sound behaves strangely in this channel. A whale singing off the coast of Ireland could theoretically be heard near Bermuda. The ocean creates this acoustic highway through a combination of temperature and pressure gradients that bend sound waves, keeping them trapped in a specific depth band. The channel carries songs and calls and mechanical sounds around the world, a hidden telephone line running through the ocean, connecting distant places, allowing conversations across vast distances, voices traveling in the deep darkness, curving with the sound channel, whispering across continents. Mystery 45, methane seeps. In many places on the ocean floor, methane gas bubbles up from the sediment, creating underwater fountains of gas that rise toward the surface. These cold seeps can support unique ecosystems of bacteria and animals that derive energy from the methane. Some seeps have been active for thousands of years, creating formations of methane ice and carbonate rock. The gas comes from decomposing organic matter buried in the seafloor or from deeper geological sources. Most of the methane is consumed by bacteria before it reaches the surface, but some escapes into the atmosphere, contributing to greenhouse gases. Scientists are still mapping the locations and studying the dynamics of these seeps. Do they change over time? How much methane do they release? What role do they play in the ocean ecosystem and in climate? The seeps bubble continuously in the darkness, fountains of gas rising through the cold water, creating oases of life around them, chemosynthetic gardens growing in places where photosynthesis cannot reach, communities built on gas instead of sunlight. Mystery 46, the Songs of Ice. Icebergs create a variety of sounds as they melt, crack, and move through the water. They groan, pop, crack, and even produce musical tones. Underwater microphones have recorded icebergs making sounds that range from deep rumbles to high-pitched squeals. These sounds are generated by several processes: the release of compressed air bubbles trapped in the ice, the cracking of the ice as it melts and breaks apart, the scraping of the iceberg against the sea floor in shallow water, and the collapse of internal ice caves and structures. Each iceberg has its own acoustic signature. Scientists use these sounds to track iceberg movements and to study how they melt. The sounds can be hauntingly beautiful, like whale song or musical instruments playing random notes. The ice sings as it dies, releasing the air it trapped centuries or millennia ago when it was snow falling on a glacier. Each bubble, each crack, a voice from the distant past, speaking one last time before melting into the sea. Mystery 47, the ocean's pulse. The ocean has rhythms, tides that rise and fall with the moon, seasonal currents that change with the sun's position, and longer cycles tied to climate patterns like El Niño. But beneath these known rhythms, scientists have detected other periodic variations that aren't fully explained. Ocean temperatures, current strengths, and biological productivity all show cycles that don't correspond to any obvious astronomical or seasonal cause. Some of these cycles might be internal to the ocean system, emergent properties of the complex interactions between currents, temperature, salinity, and biology. Others might be responses to subtle variations in solar output or to changes in atmospheric circulation. The ocean pulses and breathes with rhythms on many timescales, from seconds to centuries,
and we are only beginning to understand some of them. It beats like a heart, this vast body of water, circulating and mixing, responding to forces both external and internal, alive with movement and change, cycling through patterns we can measure but not always explain. Mystery 48. Acoustic daylight. In the ocean, animals and submarines create sound. This sound bounces off objects and returns as echoes, allowing creatures like dolphins and whales to navigate and hunt using echolocation. But recent research suggests that passive listening to ambient noise might also provide information about the environment. Fish swimming, waves breaking, rain falling, even the collective sound of snapping shrimp all create a background of noise. Some scientists theorize that animals might use this ambient sound, the way we use light, to perceive their surroundings without actively making sounds themselves. This concept, called acoustic daylight, is still theoretical for most marine animals, but it suggests that the ocean is even more information-rich than we thought, that the soundscape itself is a sensory medium, and that marine animals might perceive their world through layers of sound we're only beginning to understand. The ocean is full of sound, a cacophony of biological and physical noise, and in that noise there might be patterns, information, a kind of seeing through hearing, a way of navigating the world through echoes and reverberation. Mystery 49. The Great Migration. Every year, billions of marine animals undertake migrations, some traveling thousands of miles. Gray whales migrate between feeding grounds in the Arctic and breeding lagoons in Baja California, a round trip of more than 10,000 miles. Arctic terns fly from pole to pole and back, but they also swim through Arctic waters during their breeding season. Salmon return to their birth streams to spawn, navigating across oceans to find the exact river, sometimes the exact stream, where they were born. How do these animals navigate? They use multiple cues: the sun and stars, the Earth's magnetic field, ocean currents, chemical traces in the water, and possibly even sound. But the full picture remains mysterious. Young animals making the migration for the first time somehow know the route despite never having traveled it before. The knowledge seems partly genetic, written into their biology, an inherited map and compass. They move through the ocean in great rivers of life, following paths traced by countless generations before them, guided by instinct and sensation, crossing vast distances to reach specific places. Mystery 50. The eel's journey. European and American eels are born in the Sargasso Sea, a region of the Atlantic Ocean bounded by currents rather than land. The larval eels drift with the Gulf Stream, taking months or even years to reach the coasts of Europe and North America. There, they transform into glass eels and swim up rivers, where they spend most of their adult lives in fresh water. When they reach maturity, they swim back down the rivers, cross the ocean, and return to the Sargasso Sea to spawn and die. This much scientists know, but many details remain mysterious. No one has ever observed eels spawning in the wild. No one has found newly hatched eel larvae in the Sargasso Sea, though they must be there. How do the eels find their way back across thousands of miles of ocean to spawn in the same place they were born? What triggers their decision to begin the return journey? The eels keep their secrets, swimming their ancient paths, born in one place, living in another, returning at last to their birthplace to complete the cycle, transparent as larvae, silver as adults, mysterious throughout their strange lives. Mystery 51. The immortal organisms. Beyond the immortal jellyfish, the ocean hosts other organisms with extraordinary lifespans. Certain species of deep-sea corals have been found to be more than 4,000 years old, growing slowly in the cold, dark water, adding tiny amounts of new tissue each year. Glass sponges in the Antarctic can live for more than 10,000 years, filtering water through their bodies for millennia. These organisms grow in environments where change is slow, where temperature is constant, where food is scarce but predation is rare. They represent the slowest living creatures on Earth, their metabolisms barely ticking over, their cells dividing rarely, their bodies accumulating centuries of growth. What allows them to avoid the cellular damage that kills other organisms? What can we learn from their longevity? They grow in the deep, patient beyond human comprehension, older than civilizations, remembering nothing but existing through epochs, filtering water, growing infinitesimally, nearly immortal in their cold, dark homes. Mystery 52. Camouflage Masters. The ocean is home to the greatest shapeshifters on Earth. Cuttlefish can change their color, pattern, and skin texture in milliseconds, creating elaborate displays that ripple across their bodies. Octopuses can mimic rocks, coral, even other animals, matching not just color but also texture and behavior. They achieve this through specialized cells in their skin, chromatophores that contain pigments, iridophores that reflect light, and papillae that change skin texture. The displays are controlled by muscles and nerves, allowing conscious, rapid changes. But mysteries remain. Recent research suggests that octopuses might be able to sense light with their skin, allowing them to match their background even when blinded. How much of their camouflage is conscious choice versus automatic response? How do they decide which patterns to use? Their nervous systems are distributed throughout their bodies, making the question of decision-making even more complex. They shift and change in the water, artists of disguise, their bodies becoming whatever the situation requires, flowing from one form to another, masters of transformation. Mystery 53, the deepest fish. The deepest living fish ever recorded was found at a depth of more than 27,000 feet in the Mariana Trench, far below where scientists thought fish could survive. This snailfish, ghostly pale and gelatinous, represents the extreme limit of where vertebrate life can exist in the ocean. Below this depth, the pressure is simply too great, even for the most adapted creatures. Fish at these depths have minimal bones, their bodies are mostly water, and their proteins have special adaptations to function under extreme pressure. They move slowly, conserving energy in an environment where food is scarce. How do they find mates in the vast darkness? How do they find enough food to survive? What predators hunt them, and what do they prey upon? Each deep-sea expedition discovers new species of these ultra-deep fish, each slightly different, each adapted to their specific depth and location, pushing the boundaries of where life can exist, living at the very edge of what is possible. Mystery 54. The collective intelligence of fish schools. A school of fish moving in perfect synchronization, thousands of individuals turning, simultaneously creating flowing shapes and patterns, appears to act as a single organism. Each fish follows simple rules: stay close to your neighbors, move in the same direction, avoid collisions. From these simple individual behaviors emerges complex collective behavior. The school can confuse predators, making it difficult to target a single fish. It can find food more efficiently, with more eyes searching. But how do the fish communicate so quickly? Visual cues travel fast, but not instantaneously. Fish also use their lateral line, a sense organ that detects pressure waves in the water, allowing them to feel the movements of nearby fish. Recent research suggests schools might have a kind of collective intelligence, making decisions about where to go and what to do through a democratic process, where individual fish vote with their movements. The school flows through the water like a single being, made of thousands of parts, thinking without a brain, deciding without discussion, moving with impossible coordination. Mystery 55. The Whale Falls. When a whale dies and sinks to the ocean floor, its body becomes an oasis of food. In the desert of the deep sea, a single whale carcass can support a complex community of organisms for decades. The feeding happens in stages. First,
Mobile scavengers like sharks and hagfish strip the soft tissue. Then, specialists move in to consume the bones, including zombie worms that have no mouth or digestive system, but use root-like structures to bore into bone and extract nutrients with the help of bacteria. Finally, the remaining skeleton becomes a reef, hosting communities of animals. A whale fall can introduce as much organic matter to the deep sea floor as would normally accumulate over 2,000 years. Scientists have discovered species that exist nowhere else but on whale falls, organisms that have evolved specifically to exploit these temporary habitats. They wait in the surrounding sediment or drift with deep currents until chemical cues tell them a whale has fallen. The whale, even in death, gives life to the deep, its body feeding hundreds of species, its bones becoming a home, its fall creating a thriving ecosystem where moments before there was only barren seafloor. Mystery 56, Symbiosis in the Deep. Throughout the ocean, species form partnerships that benefit both parties. Clownfish live among poisonous sea anemones, protected from predators, in return protecting the anemone from its predators and bringing it food. Cleaner shrimp set up stations on reefs where fish come to have parasites removed, even large predators that could eat the shrimp in one bite. Deep-sea anglerfish males permanently fuse to females, essentially becoming parasitic reproductive organs. These symbiotic relationships can be extraordinarily specific. Some species of goby fish partner with specific species of shrimp, the nearly blind shrimp digging a burrow, while the sharp-eyed goby stands guard, communicating danger, with tail flicks the shrimp can feel. How did these relationships evolve? How do the partners find each other in the vast ocean? Many deep-sea organisms carry bioluminescent bacteria in specialized organs, the bacteria getting a safe home and nutrients while the host gets light. The relationships between marine species run deep, partnerships formed over millions of years of evolution, mutual dependencies so strong that many species cannot survive alone, requiring their partners fitting together like puzzle pieces, each incomplete without the other. Mystery 57, The Paradox of the Plankton. In theory, species that compete for the same resources cannot coexist indefinitely. One species should outcompete the others and dominate, yet the open ocean contains dozens of species of phytoplankton, all competing for the same nutrients and light, all coexisting in the same water. This is the paradox of the plankton. Scientists have proposed various solutions. The environment is constantly changing, preventing any one species from dominating. Different species have slight preferences for different conditions. Viruses and grazers prevent any species from becoming too abundant. There are subtle differences in when and how species use resources, but the full explanation likely involves all these factors and more. The paradox reminds us that ecosystems are more complex than simple competition models suggest, that diversity can emerge from apparent uniformity, that the ocean contains multitudes, even in places that seem homogeneous. The plankton drift on, dozens of species sharing the same drop of water, coexisting in ways we still struggle to fully explain. A tiny ecosystem floating in the vastness. Mystery 58. The Chambered Nautilus's Navigation. The Nautilus, that ancient survivor, migrates vertically through hundreds of feet of water each day, rising toward the surface at night to feed, descending to deeper water during the day to avoid predators. How does it navigate? It has simple eyes, pinhole cameras without lenses, that can detect light but probably form very poor images. It has a simple nervous system compared to its relatives, the octopuses and squid. Yet it manages to find its way through the vertical maze of the water column, adjusting its buoyancy with precision, finding food, finding mates, avoiding danger. Scientists believe it uses a combination of light detection, pressure sensing, and possibly chemical cues.
The nautilus has been performing this daily migration for hundreds of millions of years, far longer than most species have existed. Its navigation system, whatever it may be, has proven robust across deep time, successful in changing oceans, reliable enough to carry it through the ages, simple but effective, a solution that works. Mystery 59. The Secret Lives of Jellyfish. Jellyfish seem simple, mostly water, no brain, no bones, just a pulsing bell and trailing tentacles. Yet they are survivors, having existed for more than 500 million years, predating fish, predating most complex life. They thrive in conditions that kill other marine life. Some survive in water so polluted nothing else lives there. They can survive with minimal oxygen. When food is scarce, some species can shrink, essentially degrowing, then grow again when conditions improve. They form blooms, sudden explosions of population that can number in the billions, overwhelming ecosystems, clogging intake pipes at power plants, collapsing fisheries. What triggers these blooms? How do jellyfish coordinate their reproduction? Despite their simple structure, they have complex life cycles, most species having both a polyp stage and a medusa stage, transforming between forms. They drift with currents but can also actively swim, pulsing their bells in rhythmic contractions. They are among the most efficient swimmers in the ocean, using a type of jet propulsion that creates vortices of water, pushing themselves forward with surprising speed. They are alien, these jellyfish, ancient and adaptable, thriving where others fail, pulsing through the water like living bells, ringing silence. Mystery 60. The ocean's forests. Kelp forests grow along rocky coastlines in cold, nutrient-rich waters, creating underwater forests that can rise more than 100 feet from the seafloor to the surface. These are among the most productive ecosystems on Earth, growing up to 2 feet per day in ideal conditions. They host an incredible diversity of life: fish, octopuses, seals, sea otters, urchins, and thousands of other species find food and shelter among the towering fronds. Yet these forests face many threats and mysteries. Sea urchin populations can explode, grazing the kelp down to bare rock, creating urchin barrens where forests once stood. Sea otters, which eat urchins, play a keystone role in maintaining the forests, but otter populations have declined in many areas. Climate change is shifting the range of kelp forests, with some disappearing from warming waters while new forests grow in previously too cold areas. The forests sway with the currents and surge, their fronds flowing in the pulse of the waves, creating a canopy like a terrestrial forest, but one that moves constantly, undulating, breathing with the water. A forest that dances, that flows, that grows and shrinks with seasons and decades, always changing, never still. Mystery 61. The Bermuda Triangle. For decades, the Bermuda Triangle, a region of the Atlantic Ocean roughly bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, has been associated with mysterious disappearances of ships and aircraft. Hundreds of vessels have allegedly vanished without trace in these waters. Theories range from the plausible magnetic anomalies and unpredictable weather, to the exotic, underwater cities, time warps, alien abductions. However, detailed statistical analysis shows that the Bermuda Triangle has no more disappearances than any other heavily traveled region of ocean of similar size. The area sees heavy traffic, both maritime and aerial, and has regions of deep water where wreckage would be difficult to find. It also experiences sudden, violent weather, including hurricanes and waterspouts. Methane eruptions from the seafloor have been proposed as a cause of some sinkings, the gas reducing water density and causing ships to sink rapidly. The mystery persists more in popular imagination than in reality, but it reminds us that the ocean is dangerous, that accidents happen, and that the human mind seeks patterns and explanations even where none exist beyond chance and natural causes. The waters of the triangle flow on, neither magical nor malevolent, simply ocean, deep and indifferent. Mystery 62. The Blue Holes. Blue holes are underwater sinkholes, circular pools of deep water surrounded by shallow seas or dry land. The Great Blue Hole in Belize, made famous by Jacques Cousteau, is more than 1,000 feet across and over 400 feet deep. Dean's Blue Hole in the Bahamas is the deepest known blue hole, plunging more than 600 feet. These formations are remnants from the last ice age when sea levels were lower and rainwater carved caves in the limestone. When the ice melted and seas rose, the caves flooded and sometimes their roofs collapsed, creating these circular holes. Diving into a blue hole is entering another world. The water is clear near the surface, then becomes increasingly dark and murky. Many blue holes have layers of different water, fresh water on top and saltier water below, with a distinct boundary between them. The deepest parts contain almost no oxygen and can be filled with hydrogen sulfide. Yet despite the harsh conditions, unique species have been found in blue holes, animals that evolved in isolation when the holes were separate cave systems. The holes drop away into darkness, their circular forms perfectly round, their depths mysterious, portals to another realm, windows into the earth. Mystery 63. The Tidal Bore. In certain rivers and bays, the incoming tide creates a wave that travels upstream, sometimes for miles. The largest tidal bores can reach heights of more than 20 feet and speeds of more than 20 miles per hour, creating a moving wall of water that floods upstream against the river's current. The most famous tidal bores occur on the Qiantang River in China, the Amazon River, and the Severn River in England. The bore occurs when the shape of the coastline and riverbed funnels the incoming tide into a narrow channel, concentrating the water into a single wave. Surfers sometimes ride tidal bores for miles. The wave creates a unique sound, a continuous roar as it moves upstream, changing the river from fresh to brackish water in minutes, washing debris and sometimes fish far inland, then receding hours later, leaving boats stranded until the next tide. The bore is predictable, occurring on a schedule tied to the moon's phases, yet each bore is slightly different, affected by the river's current, recent rainfall, and wind conditions. It is a wave that defies expectations, flowing upstream, reversing the natural order, the ocean pushing into the land, claiming territory temporarily, a reminder that tides are among the most powerful forces in nature. Mystery 64. The Ocean Currents. The ocean surface currents are driven by wind, but deep ocean currents are driven by density differences caused by variations in temperature and salinity. This thermohaline circulation, often called the ocean conveyor belt, moves water in a slow cycle around the globe, taking roughly 1,000 years to complete one circuit. Warm, salty water near the equator evaporates, leaving even saltier water behind. This salty water is denser and sinks, then flows along the sea floor toward the poles. In the Arctic and Antarctic, it mixes with very cold water, becomes even denser, and continues flowing deep in the ocean. Eventually, this deep water rises back to the surface in certain regions and completes the cycle. This circulation transports enormous amounts of heat around the planet, regulating climate. Europe is much warmer than it would be without the Gulf Stream bringing warm water from the tropics. But the system is complex and not fully understood. How stable is this circulation? How might it change with climate change? There is evidence that the circulation has slowed or even stopped in the past, with dramatic climate consequences. The currents flow on, invisible from the surface, but shaping climate and weather, a slow river within the ocean, circling the world, mixing and stirring the deep blue. Mystery 65. The Underwater Waterfalls. In the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland, a massive underwater waterfall plunges more than 2 miles down the seafloor. This waterfall carries more than 5 million cubic meters of water per second, making it more than 3,000 times larger than Niagara Falls,
The water flowing over this underwater cliff is cold, dense water from the Arctic that sinks as it flows south, creating a downward cascade. Similar underwater waterfalls exist in other parts of the ocean, where water masses of different densities meet and one sinks below the other. These waterfalls are invisible from the surface, detected only by measuring temperature and salinity changes, yet they play a crucial role in ocean circulation. They mix nutrients, affect the distribution of marine life, and contribute to the global climate system. The water falls in slow motion, cold and heavy, cascading over underwater cliffs in complete darkness. A waterfall that has been flowing for thousands of years, pouring endlessly downward, moving masses of water from one depth to another. One of the planet's great engines of circulation, hidden and powerful. Mystery 66, the Sargasso Sea. The Sargasso Sea is a region of the Atlantic Ocean that has no land boundaries, defined instead by ocean currents that circulate around it. The area is characterized by clear, blue water and vast floating mats of sargassum, a type of brown algae. These mats create a unique floating ecosystem, hosting a variety of species found nowhere else, including the sargassum fish, which is camouflaged to blend perfectly with the algae. The Sargasso Sea has long been associated with mystery. Columbus noted the seaweed when crossing the Atlantic, and sailors told tales of ships becoming trapped in the algae, unable to sail, though sargassum mats are not dense enough to trap ships. The sea is eerily calm, protected from storms by the surrounding currents. It is also a graveyard of sorts, accumulating floating debris from across the Atlantic, including tragic amounts of plastic pollution. European and American eels are born here, though scientists have never observed the spawning. The sea drifts with its currents, its boundaries shifting slightly, a sea within a sea, its water rotating slowly in a gyre, holding its mysteries in clear blue depths. Mystery 67, the halocline. In some parts of the ocean, particularly in the Arctic and in certain underwater caves, there exists a sharp boundary between waters of different salinities called a halocline. The fresher water floats on top of the saltier water, and the boundary between them can be surprisingly sharp. Divers who swim through a halocline describe it as a surreal experience. The water above and below the boundary can be so different in clarity that it looks like an underwater mirror or a layer of fog. In cenotes in Mexico, divers can find haloclines where freshwater rain runoff floats above seawater that has seeped in from the coast. The boundary blurs vision, creates strange optical effects, and marks a transition between two different aquatic environments existing in the same space. Fish and other organisms often congregate at haloclines, exploiting the different conditions on each side. The boundary itself is a kind of habitat, a thin layer where different worlds meet, where chemistry changes in the space of inches, where organisms have learned to live in between, navigating between fresh and salt, exploiting the gradient, existing at the boundary of two realms. Mystery 68, the maelstroms. Whirlpools have terrified sailors for millennia, appearing in myths and legends as monsters that drag ships to their doom. The most famous real whirlpools include the Moskstraumen off the coast of Norway, which inspired Edgar Allan Poe's story, A Descent into the Maelstrom, and the Corryvreckan between Scottish islands, where tidal currents reach speeds of more than 20 miles per hour. These whirlpools form when strong tidal currents flow past underwater obstacles, or through narrow channels, creating rotating vortices of water. The largest can be hundreds of feet across and create depressions in the sea surface several feet deep. Small boats can be caught and spun around, though the danger has been greatly exaggerated in legend. Modern ships can usually power through even large whirlpools. What makes these phenomena mysterious is their unpredictability. The exact size and power of a whirlpool depends on subtle variations in tides, currents, and wind,
They appear and disappear, growing and shrinking, sometimes creating series of smaller vortices. The water spirals down and around, a visible manifestation of fluid dynamics, beautiful and dangerous, temporary sculptures of moving water, demonstrations of the ocean's power to twist and turn itself. Mystery 69, the Blood Falls. In Antarctica's dry valleys, a glacier releases a waterfall of what appears to be blood-red water. This eerie sight, visible against the white ice, is caused by iron-rich salt water from a subglacial lake that has been isolated from the atmosphere for millions of years. When this water emerges and contacts oxygen, the iron oxidizes, turning the water red like rust. The subglacial lake is one of the most extreme environments on Earth, incredibly salty, very cold, completely dark, and devoid of oxygen. Yet it contains living bacteria, microorganisms that have survived in isolation for millions of years, obtaining energy from chemical reactions with the iron and sulfur in the rocks. This system might provide insights into how life could exist in similar extreme environments elsewhere in the solar system, such as beneath the ice of Jupiter's moon Europa. The blood falls flow intermittently, staining the ice red, a reminder that life finds ways to persist in even the harshest conditions, that liquid water exists even in the frozen continent, that beneath the ice there are secrets still, ancient water holding ancient life. Mystery 70, the Convergence Zones. At certain latitudes around the world, ocean currents and water masses of different temperatures meet and mix, creating convergence zones. The Antarctic Convergence, for example, is a ring around Antarctica, where cold polar water meets warmer water from the north. These zones are remarkably productive, supporting abundant marine life because they bring together nutrients from different regions and create upwelling that brings deep nutrients to the surface. They also create distinct changes in ocean conditions, crossing the Antarctic. Convergence. The water temperature can drop several degrees in the space of a few miles, and the species composition changes dramatically. Seabirds congregate at convergence zones to feed. Whales migrate along them. Commercial fisheries target them. Yet the exact location of these zones shifts over time with climate patterns, moving north or south, expanding or contracting. How do animals track these moving boundaries? How quickly can ecosystems adapt as convergence zones shift? The zones exist as invisible lines across the ocean, places where different worlds meet, transitional regions of mixing and change, boundaries that define ecosystems, yet are themselves undefined, flowing and shifting with currents and season. Mystery 71, the Underwater Springs. In many places around the world, freshwater springs bubble up from the seafloor, sometimes in quite deep water. These submarine springs can release millions of gallons of water per day, creating plumes of fresher water that rise through the salt water. Some springs are connected to underground rivers and aquifer systems. Others are outlets for water that has percolated through rock from distant sources. Swimmers and divers can sometimes feel the temperature change as they pass through the plume of spring water, which is often colder or warmer than the surrounding seawater. These springs can create unique environments, patches of different salinity in the middle of the ocean, sometimes supporting species more typical of freshwater environments. Ancient people knew about some springs and used them as sources of drinking water, rowing out to sea to collect fresh water from the ocean. The springs flow on, invisible from the surface, adding their contribution to the sea, blending fresh into salt, outlets for water that has traveled through darkness and stone, emerging at last into the blue, mixing and disappearing into the vastness. Mystery 72, the Ghost Nets. Abandoned or lost fishing nets drift through the ocean. Invisible killers known as ghost nets. These nets can continue catching fish, turtles, dolphins, and other marine life for years or even decades,
trapping animals that die and attract scavengers, which are themselves caught, creating a cycle of death. Thousands of tons of fishing gear are lost or abandoned each year, adding to a growing problem. The nets drift with currents, traveling hundreds of miles, accumulating in garbage patches, washing up on remote beaches, or sinking to the sea floor where they continue to trap bottom-dwelling creatures. Some ghost nets are recovered by cleanup efforts, but many more remain at large. They are a mostly invisible problem, their impacts difficult to quantify. How many animals do they kill? How long do they remain functional? The nets drift like specters through the water, their mesh nearly invisible, waiting for the next creature to swim into their embrace. A tragedy of our industrial fishing practices, monuments to waste and carelessness, hunting autonomously in the deep blue, patient and deadly.
Mystery 73, the Cambrian explosion. Around 540 million years ago, the ocean experienced a sudden burst of evolutionary innovation called the Cambrian explosion. In a relatively short period of geological time, most of the major groups of animals appeared in the fossil record. Before the Cambrian, life was mostly simple: bacteria, algae, simple worms, and sponges. After the Cambrian, the ocean contained animals with shells, eyes, legs, and complex body plans, trilobites, ancient mollusks, the ancestors of modern arthropods, and many other groups. What triggered this explosion of diversity? Theories include rising oxygen levels, the evolution of predation, which drove an evolutionary arms race, or genetic innovations that allowed more complex body structures. The true cause was probably a combination of factors, but the details remain debated. The Cambrian seas were strange, filled with creatures, unlike anything alive today, experimental body plans that evolution tried once and discarded. The ocean was a laboratory of forms, testing possibilities, creating diversity, setting the stage for all complex life that would follow, a flowering of innovation in the ancient seas. Mystery 74, the Permian extinction. The worst mass extinction in Earth's history occurred at the end of the Permian period, about 252 million years ago. More than 90% of marine species went extinct, along with 70% of terrestrial species. The ocean's ecosystems collapsed. The extinction was so severe it's sometimes called the Great Dying. What caused it? Evidence points to massive volcanic eruptions in Siberia, which released enormous amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, causing rapid climate change, ocean acidification, and oxygen depletion. The ocean became stratified with an oxygenated surface layer and an oxygen-free deep layer that filled with hydrogen sulfide. This toxic water occasionally upwelled to the surface, poisoning shallow marine environments. The extinction unfolded over perhaps 60,000 years, though some evidence suggests pulses of more rapid die-off. The ocean took millions of years to recover, to rebuild its ecosystems, to restore diversity. It was a near-death experience for life on Earth, a reminder that the ocean, for all its vastness, is vulnerable, that its chemistry can be disrupted, that what seems permanent can be destroyed. The ancient ocean died and was slowly reborn, leaving fossils as its gravestone. Mystery 75, the Tethys Sea. Before the Atlantic Ocean existed, before the continents reached their current positions, a different ocean covered much of the Earth, the Tethys Sea. This ancient ocean existed between the supercontinents of Gondwana and Laurasia, spanning the equator. As continents drifted and collided, the Tethys gradually closed, its seafloor pushed up to form mountain ranges. The Himalayas contain limestone formed from ancient Tethys seafloor, complete with fossils of marine organisms. The Mediterranean is a remnant of the Tethys. The ocean's closure took millions of years, dramatically changing global climate and ocean circulation.
Species that lived in the Tethys were isolated as the ocean fragmented, leading to separate evolutionary paths. Some Tethys creatures have modern descendants in widely separated oceans, evidence of their ancient connection. The Tethys exists now only in rocks, its fossils found on mountaintops, its sediments compressed into stone, its water long since mixed into other oceans. It reminds us that oceans themselves are not permanent, that they open and close over geological time, that the Earth's surface is constantly rearranging itself, that what is today may not be tomorrow, that even oceans can die. Mystery 76, the Megalodon's World. 20 million years ago, the ocean was ruled by the megalodon, a shark larger than any predatory fish alive today. But the megalodon didn't swim alone. Its ocean was filled with other giants, enormous whales, some larger than modern species, giant sea turtles, huge rays, and other large sharks. This was a time of marine megafauna, when the ocean supported populations of massive animals. Why could the ocean sustain so many giants then? The ocean was perhaps more productive, with different circulation patterns bringing more nutrients to surface waters. There were no humans harvesting marine resources. Climate was different, affecting the distribution of prey species. When the megalodon went extinct around 3 million years ago, it was part of a broader decline in marine megafauna. The cooling of the ocean, changes in ocean circulation, and the decline of some whale species all contributed. The ocean of the megalodon was a different place, warmer in some regions, with different sea levels, different currents, supporting an ecosystem we can barely imagine, giants swimming in abundance, a world of predators and prey operating on a scale we no longer see. Mystery 77, the Snowball Earth. At least twice in Earth's history, the entire planet froze, including the oceans, in events called Snowball Earth. The most recent occurred around 640 million years ago. Ice extended from the poles to the equator, covering the ocean's surface with ice potentially hundreds of feet thick. This seems like it should have ended all life, yet life survived. How? Near underwater volcanoes and hydrothermal vents, the water remained liquid. In cracks in the ice where sunlight could penetrate, microscopic organisms survived. The ocean beneath the ice, cold and dark, was likely stratified and anoxic in most places, but life persisted. When the ice finally melted, driven by volcanic carbon dioxide that gradually warmed the planet, life rebounded. Indeed, some scientists believe the Snowball Earth events helped trigger the evolution of complex life by creating strong selective pressures. The frozen ocean of Snowball Earth is difficult to imagine, a silent world of ice and darkness, life reduced to extremophiles clinging to geothermal heat, waiting for the thaw, patient and stubborn, refusing to be extinguished, surviving to eventually flourish when the ice retreated and the blue ocean returned. Mystery 78, the ancient kelp forests. Kelp forests as we know them are relatively recent, evolving only in the last 23 million years or so. Before kelp, other large algae filled similar ecological roles, but their fossils are rare, making it difficult to understand ancient coastal ecosystems. The evolution of kelp coincided with the cooling of the ocean and the formation of modern ocean current patterns. Kelp requires cold, nutrient-rich water, conditions that became more common as the planet cooled, from the warm periods of the early Cenozoic. The spread of kelp forests created new habitats, likely driving the evolution of many species that depend on them today, including sea otters, which evolved around the same time. But what did coastal ecosystems look like before kelp? What kinds of organisms form the base of the food web? The answers are fragmentary, pieced together from sparse fossils and inference. The ancient coasts remain partly mysterious, their ecosystems different from today's in ways we can only partially reconstruct.
reminding us that even familiar habitats have histories, that they too evolved and changed, that the kelp forests swaying in the current are newcomers in geological time. Mystery 79, the prehistoric sharks. Sharks have existed for more than 400 million years, predating trees and dinosaurs, surviving multiple mass extinctions. But prehistoric sharks were often very different from modern species. Helicoprion, which lived around 300 million years ago, had a bizarre spiral of teeth in its lower jaw, like a circular saw. Stethecanthus had a strange anvil-shaped structure on its head, bristling with denticles, whose purpose remains unknown. Cretoxyrhina, the Ginsu shark of the late Cretaceous, had teeth so sharp they could slice through bone, and fossils show it preyed on mosasaurs and even other sharks. These extinct sharks experimented with body plans and feeding strategies that have no modern equivalents. Why did these strange forms go extinct while more conventional sharks survived? The answer varies by species, but it reminds us that evolution is constantly experimenting, trying new approaches, and that most experiments eventually fail, leaving only fossils to tell their strange stories. The ancient sharks swam through seas we can barely imagine, playing roles in ecosystems long vanished. Their teeth and occasionally their bodies preserved in stone, mysterious relics of evolutionary paths not taken. Mystery 80, the coral reef evolution. Modern coral reefs are built by stony corals that evolved their current forms around 240 million years ago, but reef-building organisms existed long before. Ancient reefs were built by stromatolites, rudist clams, and various types of algae. Each major extinction event destroyed existing reefs, and new reef-building organisms evolved to replace them. The current coral reefs are thus the latest in a long series of different reef ecosystems. How did corals develop their symbiosis with zooxanthellae algae? When did this partnership begin? The fossil record provides clues, but not complete answers. Early corals might have been less dependent on photosynthesis, living in deeper, darker water. The evolution of the modern coral-algae symbiosis was likely gradual, developing over millions of years. Understanding this history is crucial now, as modern reefs face unprecedented stress from climate change and ocean acidification. Reefs have survived past climate changes and mass extinctions, but not without massive die-offs and long recovery periods. The ancient reefs are gone, replaced by new forms, a pattern that might continue into the future. Reefs that are familiar to us now eventually becoming fossils, replaced by whatever comes next in the endless cycle of destruction and renewal. Mystery 81, the rise of the whales. Whales evolved from land mammals that returned to the ocean around 50 million years ago. The fossil record shows this transition in remarkable detail. Pakicetus, four-legged and amphibious. Ambulocetus, seal-like. Dorudon, fully aquatic but with vestigial hind legs. The transformation took roughly 10 million years. But mysteries remain. Why did these animals return to the ocean? What selective pressures drove the transition? How did they develop echolocation? Each step represents a solution to a specific challenge, gradually perfecting the body plan that would allow their descendants to become the largest animals ever to live on Earth. Mystery 82, the ichthyosaurs. Ichthyosaurs were marine reptiles that dominated the ocean during the age of dinosaurs, looking remarkably like dolphins through convergent evolution. The largest rivaled modern whales, reaching over 60 feet. They had enormous eyes for deep diving and gave birth to live young. Despite their success, they went extinct around 90 million years ago, 25 million years before the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. Why remains unclear. The ocean must have seemed empty after they vanished. These dolphin-like reptiles that had swum its waters for more than 150 million years, suddenly gone, leaving only fossils, their eyes staring from stone.
Mystery 83. The Ancient Ocean Chemistry. For billions of years, the ocean contained almost no oxygen. It was rich in dissolved iron and likely green or even red rather than blue, colored by dissolved metals and different photosynthetic organisms. Life in this ocean was entirely microbial for most of Earth's history. Complex life only evolved when oxygen levels rose and ocean chemistry became more stable. The ocean's chemistry is still changing, now being altered by human activity at a rate not seen for millions of years, acidifying with carbon dioxide, warming, changing its circulation. The ocean changed over geological time in the past, giving life millions of years to adapt. Now it's changing in decades. Mystery 84, the Pliocene Ocean. 3 million years ago, during the Pliocene, the Earth was warmer than today. The Arctic had no permanent ice, and sea levels were about 60 feet higher. This period offers a glimpse of where our ocean might be heading. The Pliocene Ocean had different circulation patterns, with coral reefs extending further from the equator, yet warming caused extinctions among species adapted to colder conditions. The Pliocene Ocean is a proxy for our future ocean. Scientists study Pliocene fossils to understand how marine ecosystems responded to warmth. The lessons are sobering. The ocean will survive warming, but it will be a different ocean, hosting different communities, familiar yet changed. Mystery 85. The disappearance of MH370. In March 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanished over the Indian Ocean with 239 people aboard. Despite the most expensive search in aviation history, the main wreckage has never been found. The ocean in the search area is deep with complex topography. The seafloor is poorly mapped. The search covered thousands of square miles, but the ocean is vast and the plane is small by comparison. What happened remains unclear. Somewhere in the deep Indian Ocean, the wreckage rests, holding answers, but the darkness and pressure have so far prevented discovery. The ocean has swallowed many things throughout history, and sometimes it does not give them back. Mystery 86, the ghost ships. Ships discovered drifting with no crew aboard have captured imagination for centuries. The most famous is the Mary Celeste, found in 1872 with no one on board, the crew's belongings still in place, a meal half eaten. What happened remains unknown. The ocean is dangerous and unforgiving. A sudden storm, a moment of panic, and a crew might abandon ship only to be lost while their vessel drifts on. The ghost ships drift on, their empty cabins silent, until they sink or run aground, monuments to mysteries that may never be solved. Mystery 87. The Plastic Pollution Mystery. We know millions of tons of plastic enter the ocean each year, yet scientists can only find a fraction of what should be there. Where is the missing plastic? Some sinks to the sea floor, some is eaten by marine life, some breaks down into particles too small to measure. Recent research suggests much more plastic has sunk to the ocean floor than previously thought. Other plastic is being incorporated into the food web or broken down by bacteria. The plastic particles drift and sink, invisible pollution permeating the water, becoming part of the geological record, a marker of the Anthropocene that will last for millennia. Mystery 88. The ocean's oxygen decline. Ocean oxygen levels are declining. Since 1960, the ocean has lost approximately 2% of its oxygen, but in many areas levels have dropped by more than 20%, creating expanding dead zones. Warming water holds less oxygen, and warmer temperatures increase the metabolism of organisms, making them need more oxygen just as less becomes available. Nutrient runoff creates algae blooms that consume oxygen when they decompose. Dead zones are expanding off coastlines around the world. The ocean is slowly suffocating in some regions, a consequence of warming and pollution.
an emergency unfolding in slow motion beneath the waves. Mystery 89, the underwater volcano's awakening. Monitoring suggests underwater volcanic activity might be increasing, though it's difficult to be certain. Underwater eruptions are often detected only by earthquake activity or unusual chemical signatures. Some scientists propose that changes in ocean chemistry or melting glaciers redistributing weight on the Earth's crust could affect volcanic activity, though mechanisms are unclear. Large underwater eruptions can create new islands, trigger tsunamis, and release massive amounts of heat and chemicals into the ocean. The volcanoes rumble beneath the waves, many unknown, building mountains we may never see, erupting in darkness. Mystery 90, the methane time bomb. Frozen methane hydrate sits in ocean sediments around the world. As the ocean warms, there is concern this methane might be released in large quantities. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas, and a massive release could dramatically accelerate climate change. However, the dynamics are complex. Much methane released from the seafloor is consumed by bacteria before reaching the surface. Scientists are divided on how urgent the risk is. The frozen methane sits in the sediment, sensitive to temperature, waiting. If released rapidly, it could amplify warming beyond our control. We are conducting an experiment by warming the ocean, and the methane deposits are one of the wildcards. Mystery 91, the deep-sea mining question. As land-based minerals become scarcer, companies are looking to the deep ocean floor, where nodules of valuable metals lie scattered. Mining would involve remotely operated vehicles collecting nodules from the sea floor. The environmental impacts are unknown, but potentially severe. The deep seafloor hosts unique ecosystems that have never experienced disturbance. Mining would destroy habitats, stir up sediment clouds, and eliminate species before we've discovered them. Deep ocean communities grow slowly and might take millennia to recover. The abyss faces a new threat. Human industrial activity extending into the last frontier, an irreversible change to ecosystems we barely understand. Mystery 92, the changing migration patterns. Marine species worldwide are changing their migration patterns, shifting ranges, arriving at different times than decades ago. Fish are moving toward the poles as waters warm. These changes ripple through ecosystems, creating mismatches. Predators arriving to find prey already gone, young animals hatching after the plankton bloom has passed. Ecosystems that have existed for thousands of years are being reshuffled. The migration patterns are ancient, timed to seasons and food availability. Now those patterns are breaking down, no longer reliable, the ocean changing faster than evolution can respond. Mystery 93, the coral spawning synchronization. Once a year, on a specific night, coral reefs worldwide release their eggs and sperm in a massive synchronized spawning event. Somehow, corals across hundreds of miles coordinate their reproduction to occur within hours, creating underwater snowstorms. Scientists know this relates to water temperature, lunar cycles, and day length, but exact mechanisms remain mysterious. Climate change is disrupting this synchronization. Warmer water causes some corals to spawn at different times, reducing reproductive success. The precision that evolved over millions of years is breaking down in decades. The ancient timing is broken, the coordination failing. Mystery 94, the sound pollution impact. Human activity has made the ocean much noisier. Ship engines, sonar, seismic surveys, offshore construction. This pollution affects marine life in ways we're only beginning to understand. Many animals rely on sound for communication, navigation, and finding food. Whales cannot hear each other's calls across the distances they once could. Some species are leaving noisy areas, compressing their habitats. The underwater soundscape has changed more in the past century than in millennia before. The ocean is getting louder, its inhabitants struggling to communicate, to navigate, to live in a world we have made cacophonous. Mystery 95. The microplastic ubiquity. Microplastics have been found everywhere in the ocean, from surface to deepest trenches, from Arctic ice to Antarctic waters, in the bodies of animals from zooplankton to whales. What are the health effects? Microplastics can be ingested, potentially blocking digestive systems, or releasing toxic chemicals. They enter the food web at the bottom and accumulate upward. The particles are so small and numerous that removing them is probably impossible. They are becoming part of the ocean's fundamental composition, woven into the water itself, a permanent legacy of the plastic age, a change that may be irreversible. Mystery 96. The ocean's future. The ocean in 2100 will be different from today's ocean, but how different remains uncertain. Climate models project warming, rising sea levels, acidification, and oxygen decline, but the magnitude depends on human actions. The ocean has immense inertia. Even if we stopped all emissions tomorrow, it would continue warming for centuries. Current changes are happening in decades, a pace almost unprecedented in the geological record. What will marine ecosystems look like? Which species will survive? The ocean's future is being written now by our choices and actions, multiple possible oceans depending on the paths we choose. Mystery 97. The consciousness of the ocean. Does the ocean have a kind of consciousness? This is a philosophical question some have contemplated. The ocean is a single interconnected system, its currents and chemistry and life all affecting each other in complex feedback loops. Information propagates through the ocean, temperature changes, chemical signals, sound waves. The ocean responds to inputs, adjusts its chemistry, redistributes heat. Some suggest this constitutes planetary scale information processing, a kind of consciousness different from our own. Whether this constitutes consciousness or simply complex chemistry might be a matter of definition. Let this thought drift through your mind like a current through deep water, requiring no answer, simply flowing as you sink deeper into rest. Mystery 98. The ocean's memory. The ocean remembers. It holds in its depths water that sank from the surface centuries ago, preserving the temperature and chemistry of past climates. It holds in its sediments the bodies of countless organisms, a record spanning hundreds of millions of years. The deep ocean changes slowly, maintaining characteristics for decades or centuries. This memory affects climate. Heat absorbed decades ago is still being released. But this also means that changes, once they penetrate the deep ocean, persist for centuries. The ocean forgets nothing, records everything, a living archive of Earth's history. Like the ocean, you too can hold memories gently, letting them settle into the depths of your mind, resting peacefully as you drift deeper into sleep. Mystery 99. The connection between all waters. Every ocean is connected. Water that evaporates from the Pacific falls as rain on the Amazon, flows to the Atlantic, becomes Arctic ice, melts, flows deep, emerges in the Indian Ocean, and returns to the Pacific. Every drop has been everywhere. This means pollution anywhere affects everywhere, eventually. The ocean is singular, a single world ocean with artificial divisions, a global circulatory system, planetary blood flowing through channels of blue, one ocean with many names. Feel yourself connected to this vastness, a small drop in the infinite ocean, yet part of the whole, flowing in the great circulation, safe in the vastness, one with the water. Mystery 100. The ocean's gift. The ocean gave us life. All life on Earth originated in the ocean. It still provides most of the oxygen we breathe, regulates our climate, provides food for billions. The rhythm of waves matches the rhythm of breathing. The sound of the sea soothes the mind. Perhaps this is because we carry the ocean within us, our blood salty like seawater, our bodies 70% water. We are children of the ocean, descended from organisms that swam in primordial seas billions of years ago. The ocean is our cradle and our home. Return to it now in your mind, returning to the source, to the gentle rocking of waves, to the peaceful blue. Let the ocean receive you back, cradling you, welcoming you home. Rest now in those ancient waters, rocked by the same tides that have rocked life for billions of years, at peace in the embrace of your oldest ancestor, the eternal Blue Mother, the ocean. And so our journey through 100 ocean mysteries comes to an end, though the ocean itself flows on, eternal and mysterious, holding countless secrets we have not touched. As you rest now, let yourself float on the boundary between consciousness and dreams. Feel the gentle rocking of invisible waves. Hear the distant whisper of tides. Sense the vastness of the ocean surrounding you. The mysteries we have explored are not burdens to carry, but gifts to release. Each mystery is a doorway opening onto wonder, an invitation to accept that the world is larger and stranger than we can fully comprehend. This is not a cause for anxiety, but for peace. The ocean does not hurry. It has existed for billions of years and will exist for billions more. Let yourself match that rhythm now. Your breathing slow and deep like swells in the open sea, your heartbeat steady like waves against the shore, your mind quiet like the stillness of the deep abyss, where all is calm. Each mystery is a small stone dropped into the infinite ocean, creating ripples that spread and fade. You do not need to remember them all. Let them drift away like messages in bottles, floating off into the darkness, carrying pieces of wonder into your dreams. The bioluminescent creatures pulse their gentle lights. The whales sing their ancient songs. The currents flow their predetermined paths. The tides rise and fall with the moon, reliable and rhythmic. Like your breath now, slow and steady, peaceful and deep. The mysteries remain mysteries, and this is good. You do not need to solve anything tonight. You need only to rest, to float, to drift, to allow the mysteries to lull you deeper into peace. Each one a gentle wave carrying you further from shore, further into the calm blue depths of sleep. The ocean whispers, rest now, let go now, sleep now. And so you do, drifting down through layers of blue, through the mysteries we have shared, down into the deepest sleep, peaceful and profound, held by the eternal ocean, rocking gently in the cradle of the sea, at rest in the heart of mystery, breathing with the rhythm of the tides, sleeping the deep sleep of the abyss, where all is peaceful, all is well. Rest well, traveler. The ocean watches over you. And morning will come, as it always does, when the tide of sleep releases you back to shore, refreshed and renewed, having visited the depths and returned with the gift of rest. For now there is only the ocean, only the mystery, only the peace. The waves whisper on distant shores, the deep is silent and still. And you are at rest, finally, completely, peacefully at rest.